1, 2. Alright, hello. Hello there, Quincy Chamberlain, can you hear me? Hello 2K, how are ya? Hello Orion, Orion Web Lab. Can you guys hear me? Alright? Ah, excellent. Excellent, excellent. Hello Data52, welcome to the stream. So yeah, that was good to hear. Loud and clear, excellent. If it's too loud, let me know, I can turn it down. So, that was... Sorry, pardon me, just a moment. So, that was the Toradora analysis finale. What'd you guys think? Did you like it? Did it live up to expectations? Oh, good. Good. Oh, I'm glad it was worth the wait, David Frog. Yeah, it was, it took a very long time to write that script, like a lot longer than normal. So, I had originally, wanted to do 3 of those episodes as one analysis and then do the final episode as its own analysis. But then when I watched through, I thought, oh, no, there's actually not much. There's not enough in the last episode to make its own analysis. So instead, yeah, I just made it all one. And it took forever to write. Shalendrian, I think. I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that username, but I'm glad that I was able to help with your post Toradora blues. Lord knows they hit me hard when I watched Toradora for the first time. In fact, the first time I watched Toradora, I watched it over 2 days, and the very next day, I watched the entire thing again. So I watched Toradora twice in 3 days. Orion likes how I added little cliffhangers in between sections. I'm glad that kept you engaged. That's something I'll probably try and do more of in the future. And what video was it in? My mistakes video for Takagi-san season 2, where I say, don't worry, I'm not going to end every analysis with a cliffhanger, or will I? Uh, David Frog likes how it felt like a proper conclusion to the analysis series. Thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad that it came across that way. When I watched all my old videos for the sake of the mistakes video, I sort of picked up on a few setups I had put in place. And when writing the script, I made sure to pay off those setups. All except one. I mentioned in the mistakes video that I would go in depth about the different types of love thing in the finale, and in the very early stages of the script, there was meant to be a bit about that during the discussion of the practice wedding scene, but at the end of the day, it just didn't really fit in and didn't really matter. I guess the only thing I have to say on it is that the relationship that Ryuji has with Taiga is one wherein there is both comfort and support. Not so much admiration. I mean, they do care for each other, but not the kind of admiration he had for Minori, not the, oh, you're a goddess, let me put you on a pedestal kind of admiration. Hello, LoloMet3000. So this is usually how live streams go. I try my best to keep up with the comments, but I usually fall a little bit behind. Excuse me, let me just take There is nothing worse than when your mouth gets dry and it makes those noises. Whenever I'm recording a video, I have to have a bottle of water on hand, and every few sentences I need to take another drink. Actually, fun fact about the finale, this was the first video that I had to split up the recording session into multiple sessions. So, I believe in the first session where I intended to read the whole thing, Sorry, I lost my train of thought. When I tried to record the whole thing, I got to the last paragraph of chapter 4, and my voice just started giving out. And I tried to say it multiple times. I even tried to force lower my voice so you couldn't tell, but you could tell. It sounded like my voice was breaking, essentially. I sounded like that teenager from The Simpsons. I can't do voices. Let's all pretend that never happened, please. Okay, where am I up to? Yes, Lord Steele has brought up Takagi-san manga and that it's getting really good. It is. I agree. I'm keeping up with the manga as best I can. I'm on the Takagi-san Discord server, and I've set it up so that I get notified whenever a new chapter gets released. I'm really liking it. There was a bit of a phase. It's not happening right now. It happened like several chapters ago, but there was a bit of a phase wherein like a chapter would go about the way you expected, but then it would go on for a little longer than you thought it would. The only one off the top of my head is Jealousy, the Jealousy chapter. And for those of you who haven't read ahead, I am about to spoil the Jealousy chapter, but there aren't any major plot spoilers in that. It's basically Mano wants to make Nakai jealous by pretending to be friends with Nishikata. It's actually really cute. She hover hands him and everything. And at the very end, he's walking back to, he and Takagi are walking back to class, and you kind of expect it to end there, but then you get this moment where Takagi admits that if Nishikata thought Mano was cute, it'd make her jealous. Like, just an extra little bit that implies just the littlest bit of progression. They're not really doing that anymore, I don't think. Or they're doing it so often that I don't notice it anymore. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. Oh, Tokei. It's pronounced Tokei, is it? Um, Sorry about that. I've been saying it wrong this whole time. Um, Shalendrian. Watched it this summer in 3 days, and it was hard to not watch it a second time. For what it's worth, watching it the second time was not... Like, it was good, but it wasn't as good as the first time. You know, the first time you watch Toradora, and it just... bloody hell, what's the word I'm looking for? It just makes you feel so blissful, and then every time after that, that effect wears off somewhat. Even though Toradora was maybe like the 6th or 7th anime I ever watched, I credit it with getting me properly into anime, because it was after watching that I said, I need to feel that way again, and I started watching show after show after show. It's why I watched Clannad, which if anyone ever tells you watch Clannad, it's just like Toradora, don't listen to them. Clannad is not very good. David Frog points out, glad they're not the only person who really wants to know what happened after the series ended. It leaves it so open-ended that you want to know. Yeah, it's yeah, I notice a lot of shows end that way. They sort of end ambiguously, like you're not completely sure what's going to happen next. Although I did watch something recently, and this is an anime, but I did watch something recently which doesn't do that. It ends in a way that you know exactly what happens to everyone. It's the most closure any piece of media has ever given me, and that's a comedy called The Good Place, and I love The Good Place so very much and highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. David Frog points out, has pointed out my big ass bottle, which I'm going to take another drink from because I can hear. Whoops. Yeah, I used to keep about a dozen of those 600ml bottles that I'd have to fill up every other day, and I just thought that this is ridiculous. You know, I'd be walking around the house with my arms full of bottles. So I went out and bought a couple of those big bottles, one for my office, which I'm in now, one for my bedroom, and yeah, it's been much better. Fallon Royale is enjoying this ASMR. I guess I'd be better at ASMR than voice acting, but actually, the first time I ever did a live stream like this, it was after the Takagi-san Season 1 analysis series ended. And I remember after the premiere was done, I said, I'm going to be 5 minutes. Because it was about the middle of the day, and I hadn't eaten a thing, and I didn't know how long the live stream was going to last. So I thought, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go grab a bag of chips. I'm just going to scarf them down as quickly as I can, and then get prepared for the live stream. So I'm scarfing down these chips like there's no tomorrow. And then I see a comment. So the live stream had technically started, but it was just a timer at that point, and I'd muted the microphone. But then a message popped up. Ooh, ASMR. And I've frozen. I'm like, I've typed in the chat, can you hear me? I've gone, yeah. Turns out, while experimenting with the streaming software, I'd accidentally set up 2 microphones. Or 2 microphone tracks, both using the one microphone. So I muted one, but not the other. So, please don't go looking for that, although I know you're going to. Mr. Bootum. I reckon you're not planning on covering the OVA. It's a short and sweet. It's short and sweet, but I'm not entirely sure whether it's got enough meat for an actual analysis. Yeah, the OVA it's good. Don't get me wrong, it's good, and it does have a lot in there that I could talk about. But my problem with analysing the OVA is that it's very explicit in its messaging. Like, I think the ultimate takeaway from the OVA is that the most important part of cooking is that you cook it for the person that you're cooking for. And, Ryuji just straight up says that at the end of the show. It's very much this is the moral of the story. If the rest of Toradora were like that, if the Culture Festival arc ended with someone saying, "Oh, see, your biological family doesn't have to be your only family," or if the Christmas arc ended with someone saying, "This is why harems are dangerous," then it wouldn't be as fun to analyse, because it'd just be too obvious. So no, I probably won't be doing the OVA. I do like it, but it's just very explicit with its message, and I'm not sure if I could really add to that. I feel my mouth getting dry again. I'm just going to have a quick... Okay, where am I up to? Juvindo says she's getting more aggressive, can't hold back no more. Oh, right, sorry, like I said, I always get behind in these comments. I assume you're talking about Takagi getting more... about Takagi getting more assertive. And yeah, she really is. She really is. Yeah, it kind of comes in waves. Sometimes there'll be a few chapters in a row that makes you think, oh wow, things are going to start progressing, and then you get a bunch where just nothing really happens. Which, I understand that, the mangaka wants it to last as long as they can. The longer it lasts, the more they get paid. And there are plenty of stories that you could explore with this dynamic. But yeah, not gonna lie, I would really love it if at one point Nishikata and Takagi actually did start going out and the story continued, and showed how they dealt with that change in their dynamic. I think that'd be really cool. I think that'd be interesting. Mono says, "I'm a kiss you, no homo." Surely there's just a little bit. Just a little bit. David Frog, I love how Joe can make a paragraph out of a single small cock. David Frog, I just have a big mouth. And a lot of things to say that I don't have many people to say them to. The whole reason I started this YouTube channel, well, part of the reason, is because I don't really have people in my everyday life that I can talk anime with. I have a friend who watches My Hero Academia. I have another friend who's sort of sporadically watches anime here and there, but I've only ever recommended Toradora to one friend, and they said they dropped it after a few episodes because it was boring. So, when I get to talk to people about anime like Toradora or Takagi-san, I just have so much in my brain, I just can't help myself. And I've done it again. You made a comment about how much I can talk about from just one little comment, and I've taken your comment and done just that yet again. Javindo says, this is just like me when I was tasked to make an English essay, except mine didn't make any sense. Yeah, except I'm talking about stuff that I'm really passionate about. That's where all the words come from. I'm not trying to force myself to say a lot of stuff to meet any sort of criteria. Alex Funny Act wants to know if I'm going to make more analysis videos on anything else, and yeah, absolutely. I'm not exactly sure what's going to be next, and I'm not going to start any more series this year, I don't think. So I've got like 9 weeks left in the year, I think, maybe more. But I've got a spreadsheet somewhere where I've like organized what videos I'm going to do on what days, in what weeks, and yeah, I don't currently have any more series planned, but there are some video essays. There are 2 Patreon milestones that I need to fulfill. One of which is another Takagi-san fanfiction, which I think I know what it's going to be on now. It was foolish of me to offer that as a reward before I even knew what I would write, but I think I know what it is now. And for the 10 patron goal, there is a video that the patrons have been voting on. So there will still be more content this year, but probably not another series this year. Javindo, and I really hope I'm pronouncing your name right here. They point out that not many anime can be analysed, which is very true. I couldn't do what I did for Toradora for any anime. I'd drive myself mad. But you'd like me to look into Steins Gate. Not character-wise, but plot theory-wise. I love Steins Gate. Steins Gate was the second anime I ever watched after Sword Art Online. And when I watched Sword Art Online, it was kind of like, okay, there's a lot of stuff here that isn't all that great, but this just must be what anime is like. And then I watched Steins Gate, and it was like, holy moly, anime can actually be fantastic. Like, I can actually praise this show without any qualifiers, without saying it's, Steins Gate isn't pretty good for anime. Steins Gate is pretty good, full stop. Hi says hi. Hi. Alex Funny points out that Takagi-san was the anime that made them realize that there's more anime than shonen anime. Yeah, that was Toradora did that for me in a way. It was it wasn't a show about superheroes or demon slayers it was just a show about regular kids. But yeah, Takagi-san is even more so, because you could argue that that Tiger's abilities are more than what humans should be capable of. I've never seen a human run so fast that they knock over all the desks in their classroom. You could argue that that's non-diegetic, but then there's a physical mess for Ryuji to clean up at the end of it, so I really don't know. But yeah, Toradora was the anime that did that for me. Let's see, where am I up to? Sorry, I know I'm running very far behind. I'll do my best to catch up. Hi wants to know which show will be analysed next. Yeah, I'm not sure. I have some ideas as to what I want to analyse next, and I think I mentioned before I want to do a mini series on Haikyuu. There are some key moments in Haikyuu that I'd really love to talk about, without doing a full in-depth analysis. But as for what my next in-depth analysis will be, I'm not sure. But I have some ideas, but I don't want to promise anything. Mono points out it's funny that your second channel is bigger than your main. It really is. It really is. At this point, I'm probably willing to say that Behind Big Joe is my main channel. The Big Joe Productions channel is more or less abandoned at this point. I might upload more stuff to it, but I just, I haven't been writing any short films or anything lately. But yeah, this channel, Behind Big Joe, was intended to be a second channel. Just a dumping ground for behind the scenes content, and trailers, but yeah, it wound up being the most successful YouTube channel that I've ever run. Um, Actually, while I was writing the script for the finale, I got my very first payment from YouTube, which was really, really cool. I've had a monetized channel before, back before monetization was available for everyone, but I was never able to cash out. I never earned enough from that channel to cash out. Uh, Shalandrian and Hai are explaining to Shalandrian didn't know that this was the second channel. Looks like Hai is up to date on their Behind Big Joe lore. Vishal S, thank you very much. I'll do my best. Yes, Shalandrian, that is why this is called Behind Big Joe. It was a behind the scenes channel for Big Joe Productions. Mono's curious as to whether there's enough material for a season 3. Absolutely. I mean, if they'd started working on it soon after season 2 finished, maybe not, but as it is right now, absolutely. I don't think material is the issue. I think it's whether they can justify the cost of a third season. I don't know the anime industry all that well, but from what I've heard, anime is expensive, and a lot of anime based on manga, like Takagi-san, is made to advertise that manga. So if 2 seasons was enough, then we might not get a season 3. But it could happen. It could happen. YT, the metal. Do you think Takagi-san is coming back? I really have no idea. I don't really want to speculate or make any promises, because the amount of people who are convinced that there's a Takagi-san season 3 because of this one article that comes up on Google, which is just speculation. Like I've had to straight up tell people in my comment section, no, there is no season 3 confirmed. We're not getting a season 3 this year. And I don't do that because I'm offended that people are lying. It's more so that I just don't want my own audience to be misled. If I see misinformation, I'm going to correct it. And there was this one point where a trailer for season 3 was getting a lot of upvotes on the Takagi-san subreddit, and it was just motion graphics work with manga panels, and it was very impressive motion graphics work, but it was obvious that it wasn't a trailer. But whoever posted it onto the subreddit said, "Oh, it's a new trailer," and a bunch of people in the comments were going, "Oh my god, is this for real? Oh my god, a season 3. And I left a comment saying, "Come on, guys, I know you're desperate for season 3, but you got to be more critical than that. You got to be willing to say, is this person being completely honest?" Alex Funny Act thinks I should try out podcasting. Podcasting, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Red Hot Go is currently my main outlet to talk about anime. I don't really watch a lot of anime outside of what I watch for Red Hot Go. Specifically because of Red Hot Go, actually. The more anime I watch outside of Red Hot Go, the less I have to watch for Red Hot Go. Maybe that'll change now that Deja Vu is a thing, but yeah. Really only takes one hint. Pixcalibur. Pixcalibur, welcome. Only takes one hint that converts through. Right. I get you. Yeah, the denial is strong in Nishikata. The denial is very strong. That's why I'd love to see a that's why I'd love for the manga to get to a point where they are going out, or he can at least admit that he's in love with her and have to deal with that, because that would be a substantial change to his character. Tokei mentions that there is enough for a season 3. They catalogued it in the server. You did, actually. That's right. Um, I'll see if I can find that message, and I'll see if I can find where you did that and pin it so that people can see it. Mono points out that Erased is a really good anime. Yeah, I quite liked Erased when I watched it. If you would like me to add that to my list of videos for my list of suggestions for Deja Vu, could you do me a favor and write that into the comments for me? If you have any suggestions for Red Hot Go or Deja Vu, or just in general, just if you have a show you want me to talk about, if you wouldn't mind leaving it in the comments instead of the chat, just so I'm not having to look away from the chat to write stuff down on the list. Oh dear, I've lost my place. Where am I? Here I am. The Metal says deserves more popularity. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Fish Eyes, you did make it. Welcome. Javindo is dropping some wholesome manga like Takagi here. Oh, right. Manga recommendations. Drug-free romance says that my username reminds them of Best Buy. Yeah, we've both got the B alliteration. B. The Metal is excited for Haikyuu. I love Haikyuu. I think Haikyuu was the first show I watched that made me that sort of really got me pumped up. Like season 3 in particular had me actually cheering. I don't even cheer for real sport. I don't watch real sport, but when I do, I don't cheer for it. But Haikyuu actually had me cheering. It's very good show. Okay, so here's Javindo's recommendations. Himeno-chan, yes. Himeno-chan is too early for love. Yes, I quite like that. Kubo-san does not allow me. I haven't heard of that, but I'll have to check it out. Mao-sama? Nope. Oni-chan, where... Yeah, no, the only one of these I've heard of is Himeno-chan. I'll have to check the rest of those out. Would you mind, Javindo, would you mind listing those manga in a comment in this live stream so that I can find them easier? Pixcalibur, hoping that Kaguya-sama will get an in-depth analysis at some point. Love that series and plenty to discuss in the various arcs. I adore Love is War. I think I only just recently, like in the last week, caught up, overtook where the anime has gotten up to, and I'm now completely up to date, and it's really, really good. Like, if you guys like the anime but you haven't been reading the manga, you should absolutely be reading the manga. It's very, very good. David Frog thinks that Love is War has already explained most of what it has to say. You'd have to dig deep to analyze it. Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess it is kind of like that Toradora OVA where it can be rather explicit with its ultimate message. So it's not so much analyzing it as it is just saying what the show has already said, which would become very dull um, as someone who likes to analyze anime. Mono would like to know if there are any anime recommendations. Anime recommendations based on Toradora or Takagi-san. Oh man, I used to be able to say off the top of my head what those recommendations were. Let me just bring up my anime list, which has logged me out, because of course it has. Let's see, I'll sort it by my ranking. Oh, no, not progress, score. Sureduri Children. If you haven't seen that, that's a really cool, that's a really sweet rom-com. It's a very short one. You could watch it all in an afternoon, but I highly recommend that. Love is War, if you haven't already. Ore Monogatari is pretty cute. I did watch it a little while ago, and I don't actually remember all that much about it, but that was pretty good. Tsuki ga Kieri, or I think the English title is As the Moon So Beautiful, something like that. If you're a fan of romance, like Toradora or Takagi-san, then As the Moon So Beautiful is an absolute must-watch. I hope that'll tide you over for the meantime. Superloop 13 has requested Axel World. Was that for Mono or for me? If it was for me, leave it in the comments and I'll add it to the list. Mr. Sputum, did you drop Clannad during Season 1 or did you make it all the way through? Because without After Story's recontextualization, I'd struggle to call it worthwhile on its own. Season 1 is a bit rubbish. I watched all of Season 1, I didn't bother with Season 2. I know what happens in Season 2, and yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna talk so much smack about Clannad, I probably should watch the second season as well. But yeah, the Season 1 really was rubbish. Like, so many people said after Toradora, Clannad is the next best thing. It just isn't. It just isn't. Data52 is off work. Welcome, Data52, to the live stream. Hi says that there would be enough for a Season 4 of Takagi-san. Maybe? I don't know. I'm not sure if having enough content for another season just comes down to having enough chapters to adapt. Or if it did, I would very swiftly lose interest. I think whether you have enough material for another season depends on whether or not Nishikata or Takagi, but probably Nishikata, has enough room to grow. Whether he has enough room to grow by the end of the season. So, Nishikata, the way he is at the beginning of Season 1 is different to the way he is at the end of Season 1. And, Nishikata at the start of Season 2 is a different person to the end of Season 2. So I think that's... Yeah, if I were in charge of whether Takagi-san got a third or fourth season, and someone said, I want a third or fourth season, my first question would be, what's going to be the ultimate point? What's this season going to build to? And I think they might have the correct kind of material to do another season. I can't quite tell you what the point of the season would be, but I'm not sure if they'd have more than one more of those big milestone moments. Super Loop, I do agree all the characters except the main one for behind Origami. It's maybe nostalgia. You're talking about oh no, sorry, you're talking about Exo World. Pixcalibur points out that them, we're all holding out for a Love is War Season 3, and there could be enough material for 2 more seasons. Now that I actually agree with. I think there is more than enough material or reasons for there to be 2 more seasons of Love is War. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Oh, Hi says it's already been pinned. Excellent. Oh, David Frog says, comments are disabled. Damn it. Uh, could you put them in the Discord, the Red Hot Go Discord room? Is that too much? Is that going to be too much of a hassle? I can't. Okay, I got confused because people were leaving comments on the premiere. So, bugger. You'll probably be able to comment on this after it's over, but that's... Alright, thank you, David, for pointing out that you can't comment on the live stream. Sorry about that, guys. But, yeah, if you do have any requests, if you could put it into the Red Hot Go chat room in the Discord, or channel. I'm getting better at using Discord, but I'm still haven't quite wrapped my head around the terminology. Serpa S has heard that I used to like Sword Art Online and then dropped it at Season 2, which was absolutely horrible. However, Season 3 is probably the best season SAO has to offer. I didn't necessarily drop SAO because Season 2 was bad. I mean, it was pretty lackluster. But no, what happened is Sword Art Online was the very first anime I ever watched. So I watched that, and a lot of the problems it had, I just sort of assumed this must be par for the course for anime. But as I so I liked it at first because I assumed that the issues were just things I'd have to deal with if I wanted to watch anime. But sorry, I've lost my train of thought. Where was I? Oh god, the pressure to remember is just making it even harder. Right. So as I watched more better anime, and as I heard people explain why they didn't like Sword Art Online, it sort of became clear that the things I excused weren't really excusable. Like, I'd think while I was watching it, gee, this main character's a bit bland, but I guess that's just par for the course for anime. But then people who actually know a lot of anime say, hey, this main character's really bland. And then I'll watch a show like Steins where the main character is bombastic. If I had never watched Sword Art Online before and I watched it now, for let's say a Red Hot Go, it'd probably get a very similar Red Hot Go to Haikyuu. Just don't really like the characters, premise is interesting. If you'd like me to watch Season 3, maybe request it for Red Hot Go, and if enough people also request it, I'll check it out. But yeah, I watched the first 2 seasons and the movie, and none of it really impresses me all that much. Hayden Wayman has said, thank you, Hayden. they just wanted to stop by and congratulate me for finishing the series. Well, thank you for that, and thank you very much for watching it. I'm sorry that the uploads became so inconsistent towards the end there. Serper says that they barely liked SAO, but season 3 was good. Okay, if enough people request it for Red Hot Go, then I'll give it a watch. Kultra Legend is waiting for more seasons of Haikyuu to come onto Netflix. The second half of season 4 is airing right now. And I went to sit down to watch it the other day, but a part of me is saying no. Wait until there are more episodes. I don't know. I've found that with My Hero Academia, watching that week after week gets very tedious and frustrating because they draw things out so much that you can watch an entire episode that you've waited an entire week for and barely anything happens. The last season, while they were trying to rescue Eri in particular, was very painful to watch week after week, so I just stopped watching it until the arc was over, and I watched it all at once, and it was fine. I don't know if Haikyuu is going to be the same, because I only got into Haikyuu recently, and I've never had to watch it episodically. I've always been able to just watch it in big blocks, so yeah, I'm not sure if not sure if I'll wait until it's done airing or if I'll watch it now. I'll see how I feel. But yeah, another friend of mine is waiting for Haikyuu to come onto Netflix because they're the ones who got me into Haikyuu in the first place, but they don't watch the sub. Javindo would like to know if Pet Girl of Sarakuso could be analysed in a similar way to Takagi-san. Pet Girl of Sarakuso. I'm not going to make any promises about that one. I'm trying to think about what to say because there is going to be a Red Hot Go roundup where I talk about all the shows I watch for Red Hot Go, whether I finish them, whether I like them, and I've already written the segment for Pet Girl of Sarakuso. I guess I can give away here that I did finish it, and there were some parts that I really liked, and there were some parts that I really, really, really didn't like. So it probably won't get any further analysis until the Red Hot Go roundup, which will be, I hope, will be uploaded in the second last week of the year. Until that's been uploaded, I don't imagine I'll be talking about it again. But afterwards, who knows? Who knows? Drug-free romance, my favourite kind of romance, points out that Tonikawa is getting adapted. I haven't heard of it, but Javindo seems to think it's super cute. Fish Eyes, back to my recommendation of Sure Zure Children. Sure Dure. It's got so many different names. Children had a nice ending in the anime, but the manga's ending was 10 times better. Yes, the anime is fantastic. It really captures the characters, but it barely holds a candle to the actual manga. Check out the anime. Like, if you've never heard of Sure Dure Children, watch the anime first, and if it's something you're into, get into the manga. The first 4 volumes might be a bit meh because you'll know a lot of it already, although there are a lot of characters in the manga that never get adapted into the anime. but after that, it gets so good, so good. And Mono's saying thank you. I'll check them out. Is that from the anime recommendations I made? Oh, it is. My goodness, I'm so far behind. Sorry, guys. Javindo points out that Toradora Children is cute, but so many characters, and each couple deserves more time. Yeah, the anime is very short. A lot of anime is made simply to sell manga, and Toradora Children is certainly one of those cases, I think. But I still think it ends on a pretty decent note. Like, it's not... The ending isn't frustrating, like... I'm going to give away something else from the Red Hot Go Roundup, but it's not frustrating like the ending of Haikyuu was. David Frog points out that some couples in Toradora Children only confessed very late. Yeah, that was... Part of what I love about Toradora Children is that it showcased so many different kinds of relationships, and a lot of them started sort of either at the beginning of the story or during the story, so you could see their relationship progress. But there were some characters who didn't confess until the very, very end, and that was rather frustrating, because, I mean, it happens all the time, doesn't it? The show ends when they get together. That's part of the reason I love Toradora, because that's not the case. I did a whole chapter called It's Not Over, because they didn't do that. They were together, technically, but they still had things to work on. Getting together didn't solve their problems. So yeah, I don't like when stories do that. It's just a bit stale. It's just a bit boring at this point. Big Scalibur really likes Tanikawa and the inner thoughts of Nasa. Yeah, they're great. They're great. Those are more Toradora Children characters. Just check it out. If you've never watched the anime, give it a red hot go of your own. Watch the first 3 episodes and see how you feel. It's quite nice. Alex Funny Act wants to know about comedy anime recommendations. Beyond Toradora Children, let's see. I can't really think, besides Konosuba, I can't really think of many anime I've watched that are solely comedy. Yeah, no, apparently I don't watch many comedy anime. Just scrolling on my anime list on the other monitor here. But yeah, no, I'm afraid I don't have any more comedy recommendations. But I'm sure that that you in the chat will have recommendations. Superloop 13 recommends Arakawa Under the Bridge. In regards to Takagi-san, Alex Funny Act points out that that they like the anime better than the manga because it follows the status quo better. Yeah, so the manga is out of chronological order. It just sort of has whatever chapter whenever. But the anime, for the most part, keeps everything chronological. Or if they do jump in time, they make it clear that that's what they're doing. So like changing honorifics or first day of school are clearly flashbacks. You know, they make it clear that that's what's happening. But other than that, it's all in chronological order, so it's much easier to follow. Raimation left for a while and missed a lot apparently. Data52 wants to know if I'm thinking about watching ReZero Season 2. They forgot the 2. Not yet. I was having a chat with Raimation earlier this week. I would like to rewatch ReZero with the knowledge I have of it now. So when I first watched it, I didn't really get it, per se. But I've watched a lot of content from creators like Mother's Basement and Explanation Point, where they explain sort of what the appeal of it was. And there were things I didn't realise. So I'm wondering if I watch it again with those things in mind, will I like it better? So that's what I'm going to do, maybe sometime next year, just sit down and watch ReZero again. As much of it as I can. If it's as boring the second time round as it was the first, then I'll drop it. But yeah, I'm curious to know if I actually like it better the second time round. And if I do, then yeah, I'll absolutely watch Season 2. Alex Funny-Act wants to know where I watch anime. It's funny, here in Australia, anime is strewn all over the place. There is so much anime that should be on Crunchyroll, but I can't access because I'm in Australia. So my anime input, I'd say, is probably 10% Netflix, 40% Crunchyroll, 50% Anime Lab, or Funimation. I think they're the same. I think they're the same company. They're very similar branding. But yeah, one of these days, and I might even make it a Patreon goal, I'd love to just have a subscription to every single service that offers anime. I'd love to be able to go onto my anime list, look at what anime will be released that season, and just be able to watch at least the first couple of episodes of all of them. Because the whole reason I started Red Hot Go is because I realised that I wasn't watching anime outside of what I was watching for analysis, and so I thought I should make this series to incentivize myself to watch more anime, and it's done great. I watched High School Girl, I watched Promised Neverland, I watched Love is War, all for Red Hot Go, and I love all those shows. Vishal S asks if I watch, if there is any anime that I watch seasonally. Not particularly, not right now. If I do get to a point where I can be subscribed to all the services, then I will get into watching anime seasonally. But right now, outside of whatever I'm analysing and whatever I'm looking at for Red Hot Go, I don't really. I don't really. I would like to watch Haikyuu, like I said before, but I'll have to see if it's a show I can watch episode by episode, or if it's one I'm going to want to watch in chunks. Have a quick... Oh dear, I think I can feel my voice giving out again. If it sounds like my voice cracks on live stream, I'm pretty sure that's not going to be the case. It's just going to be that my voice is getting tired. 25 years old soon, voice shouldn't be cracking, but it still happens from time to time, and it's very embarrassing when it does. Even happens when I'm recording scripts, like my voice will crack and I'll have to just reread the entire sentence. back to your comments. Mono says, dub is greater than sub. I like to watch anime and do stuff while I watch, so I watch sub if there is no dub, and I watch a lot of good anime. And a lot of good anime doesn't get dubbed. Yeah, I noticed while I was watching K-On!, more of K-On!, that I thought to myself, I wish I could be doing something else. Like, I wish I could get out my tablet and play some Picture Cross while I'm watching this, but yeah, you really can't unless you watch it dubbed. But yeah, I do prefer sub in a lot of cases because I think the voice acting is just better. Like when it comes to Takagi-san, I think their Japanese voice actors are much better than the English ones. But I watched Toradora dubbed, probably because that's the way I watched it first. Yeah, it depends. I think the YouTuber Explanation Point made a very good point wherein you shouldn't treat a sub and a dub as two versions of one show where you can argue that one is better than the other. They should instead be considered two different shows. Because when you translate, you are bound to change things. They made that point really well when they compared the sub and the dub of My Hero Academia. I've pointed out a few moments during Takagi-san where the sub and the dub make the story different. Nothing quite as extreme as My Hero Academia. I think the only thing I can think of off the top of my head is that in the Valentine's Day chapter of Takagi-san, in the Japanese sub, when Mano asks Takagi whether she's given chocolate to anyone, in the Japanese version, it censors what she says, so you don't know what she says. But they don't do that in the dub. In the dub, you can actually hear her say, "I put it in Nishikata's locker." And it's really weird because, like, focus is taken off them, a crowd walks by, and it's like, you can tell it's meant to be censored, but for whatever reason, they just decided not to. But yeah, I do generally enjoy subtitled anime better, but I'm not an elitist. I'm not going to demand that everyone watch the subs. Tonikaku is one of the most recommended Red Hot Go at this moment. It is the most recommended show for Red Hot Go. K-On! held that title previously. It was briefly tied with ReZero, which is a different show, but they both had 6 suggestions. But yeah, Tonikaku is currently the most suggested show in the history of Red Hot Go, so I don't think it's much of a spoiler to say that's what will be getting a Red Hot Go next. Tonikaku or Tonikawa is over the moon for you, as pointed out by David Frog. Yeah, I've had I can't remember who it was, and I feel really bad now because it was a really helpful thing, but I'm not always that good at discerning when someone is using the Japanese title to a show that I've already put on the list in English, or vice versa. So, because when I write down a suggestion for Red Hot Go, I want to go in as blind as I possibly can, so I don't look it up at all. I just put the name in and assume that I'll be able to find it when the time comes. And someone pointed out, hey, you've got this show on the list twice with different suggestions from different people. It's just that one of the titles is written in English, one in Japanese, so which isn't anyone's fault. Like, I'm not trying to say, oh, only use the English title or only use the Japanese title. It happens. And I really appreciate anyone who reads through the list and picks up on that stuff. Alex Funniac says that Takagi-san is the only anime that can make me watch the finale 7 times. The finale of season 2 in particular was sensational. Absolutely sensational. Javindo is heading out. I will thank you for stopping by. You're probably already gone by this point, but yeah, thanks for stopping by. Mono asks, what do you do for a job? Where do you live? And do I have a girlfriend? I am currently a freelancer. I make video content professionally for people, mostly boring corporate stuff. I say boring because it's probably not the kind of stuff you'd want to watch. I quite like making it. So that's what I do for a living. I live in New South Wales, Australia. And I love living here. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. And no, I do not have a girlfriend at this moment. Nor am I in the process of attaining one. That's a horrible thing to say. I don't have a girlfriend and I'm not crushing on anyone either. That's more juvenile, but a better sentiment maybe. And don't ever be worried about asking me. Don't ever be worried about asking me personal questions. Like the worst case scenario, I'll tell you. I'd rather not say. I mean, unless you heckle me about it. But if you're just asking, if you're just asking, that's fine. And I mean, the fact that this channel is so linked to my business means that if someone genuinely wanted to dox me, they wouldn't have... It'd be, I mean, they wouldn't be able to find out my home address, I like to think, but, if someone wanted to reveal to the world what my real name was, it wouldn't be that hard. So I don't really mind talking about that stuff. Mono says that in an old video, they remember me saying I live in Sydney. I would have never said that. I do live about an hour away from Sydney, but like when I'm overseas, I don't tell people that I'm from Sydney because I'm not. Alright, Superloop is off. Thank you very much for watching. The Red Hot Go Roundup for 2020 should be out in the second half of December. Shadow Blazer 13 or Shadow Blazer the 13th wants to know if I ever read the light novels. No, I didn't read the light novels. I started to read the manga but kind of fell out of reading the manga. But no, I never read the light novels. Mono points out it's odd because the season 1 dub skipped honorifics, and it was weird to get used to in season 2. Well, actually, something that I think it was either Raimation or 2K pointed out to me that basically at the beginning of Takagi-san season 1, honorifics has already happened. They've already gotten to the point where Takagi isn't using honorifics for Nishikata. And so the only times you hear her use those honorifics are in the honorifics chapter, but also in the first day of school chapter. So it's not all that odd. I remember thinking, aha, I got you as well. But if you understand that when a racer takes place, dropping honorifics has already happened, it actually does make sense. Data52 points out that all you need is Netflix, Crunchyroll, Funimation, and maybe another one, just so you have access to anime for almost all of it. In Australia, not quite. Australia has different licensing deals to America, so like there's an anime here that's exclusive to Amazon Prime, or and my god, when Netflix gets an anime, that is worst case scenario, because they don't do simulcasting. They'll just they'll just sit on this wealth of anime until months after. Hold on, let's not skip ahead. David Frog points out that I haven't streamed on Twitch in almost 2 months. Yeah, sorry about that. It used to be something that I did with my friends, but eventually we got to a point where we were experimenting with new games, and we just kind of stopped streaming it. And I haven't actually played games with them for a little while, because I've been busy doing other stuff. But I would like to get back into streaming, because it was fun. But I think I need some kind of plan. I don't think I can just play whatever like I was before. I feel like there need to be some kind of just some kind of continuity. So like for example, one of the Red Hot Go suggestions, it only has 1 vote, but someone recommended Bloodborne, and I always thought if I ever do a Red Hot Go for that, I'll stream my play with that. Oh dear. Hi, I've just realised that you're Shark, one of my wonderful patrons. Sorry, I didn't realise until I saw your little icon there. I thought, that looks familiar. That's Shark. Alex Funny Act says I might want to consider using a VPN. Yeah, I have used a VPN in the past. Yeah, I just can't justify the cost right now, because most anime I want to watch, I can watch, one way or another. Vishal S has clarified what they mean is, do I have any traditions watching anime at certain points of, during certain times of year? No, not really. No, I have heard of the Toradora Christmas tradition, wherein you, on December 1st, from December 1st to December 25th, you watch an episode of Toradora every day, and it ends on Christmas. But no, I've never really done. I've never really done that. Data 52, I usually do English titles except for a few anime. Yeah. That's some anime have so many names. Like even the Suredure children, Surezure children thing. Just it's enough to do your head in. I guess because there's just no because there's no standard, I guess. The fact that people still argue over whether you should watch subbed or dubbed anime, there's just you just can't assume that everyone will use the same naming convention. Shark asks if my real name is Joe. It is. It's short for Joseph. And they call me Big Joe because I'm 6'6", so nearly 2 meters tall. Gulftra Legend points out that the only anime they use the Japanese name for is Takagi-san, because teasing Master Takagi-san doesn't sounds a lot more juvenile than Karakai Jozu no Takagi-san. Alex Funny Act would like to know whether I like or dislike Nagatoro. Ooh, I know what you're talking about. Please don't bully me, Nagatoro. Do I like it or dislike? I mean, I do like it, but I wouldn't recommend it to someone who enjoys Toradora or Takagi-san on the basis that they enjoy it. It's a very different kind of story. And it's getting an anime adaptation, I've heard, so that should be fun. But yeah, it's different. I certainly don't like a lot of things about it. I don't like the ecchi elements, because they are just kids after all. But yeah, it's not necessarily something I hate, although I haven't read it in a really long time. Most anime people use a short version of the name. Yeah, that's true. I mean, we all call Karako Jozu no Takagi-san just Takagi-san. Prot would like to know what anime I recommend for new anime fans. Ooh, that's a tricky one, because your first instinct is to pick an anime that's really, really good, that'll knock your socks off. But if it's your first anime, then making it something that's really fantastic might mean that you don't enjoy other anime quite as much, because you've already seen the best there is to see. I reckon the best anime to start with is something sort of in the middle of the road, something like Sword Art Online that'll set up your expectations. Not fantastic, but not awful. If you've ever been a fan of a show where characters die, then Attack on Titan might be a decent opening point, although it should not be the first show you watch where characters die, because that'll probably mess up your relationship with fictional death. Let's see, first anime. See, I wouldn't recommend Toradora, because that's so good that it might warp your expectations. My Hero Academia might be a good one. Like, it is pretty good, but it's got a nice mix and match of different types of content. There's a little bit of romance, there's a little bit of comedy, there's mostly action. If you're looking for something more down to earth, Snow White with the Red Hair, or Shiro Yukihime is pretty good. Pretty good fantasy romance sort of thing. If you want an isekai that isn't as bad as Sword Art Online, Log Horizon is pretty good. I quite like that. But then again, you don't want to recommend something too old, because if it's too old, that might turn new watchers off as well. Excuse me looking away from the camera, I'm just looking through my anime list again. Yeah, look, I think what I've recommended so far, so check out My Hero Academia or Snow White with the Red Hair. I'd give one of those a watch. And once you've watched enough sort of middle road anime that isn't fantastic but isn't awful either, that should give you a pretty decent baseline so that you can enjoy a wider range of anime. After that, you can get into your classics, your Toradora, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Steins Gate, or some of my personal favourites, Haikyuu, Love is War, Takagi-san, if you haven't seen that already. That's what I'd recommend. David Frog has just realised that we're not on the topic of Toradora anymore for a while. Not that I mind, I just find it funny. I realise that too, but the point of these live streams isn't necessarily to focus on a single topic. It's just to hang out and have a chat, because I don't do this often. And when I finish a series, there's sort of this calm, this moment where I get to relax, and I feel like that's the best time to chat. Data 52 thinks we've got what we wanted to say about Toradora out of the way. Yeah, I think so. The stuff I didn't get to talk about in the analysis videos, I've gotten to say. So yeah, if you do have anything else to say about Toradora or any more questions, then feel free. But yeah, I think most of what needs to be said has been said at this point. Alex Funniact says that I probably shouldn't look into the background of the author for Nagatoro. Yeah, I kind of get the impression reading Nagatoro that I probably wouldn't see eye to eye with the person who created it. Yeah. It's a shame when the media you enjoy is created by people who aren't necessarily good people. I grew up loving Harry Potter, and it turns out the person who created that is just a big old bully, which is very, very disheartening. But I reckon we're living in an age where it is getting harder to avoid supporting those people while legally consuming the media, but we're still living in a time where it's possible. So I absolutely want to play the new Harry Potter game when it comes out, because a lot of the games I played as a kid were the Harry Potter games. A lot of them, before, I think, Goblet of Fire, they were all really, really good. And so I really want to play this new one, but obviously I don't want to give money to someone who uses their platforms to bully marginalized people. So I've thought what I can do is, if I wait even a few weeks, maybe a month after the game releases, I could probably buy it second hand. And that way the money is only going to whoever is selling it second hand. That's why I would like to buy a PlayStation 5 at some point, and I am going to buy the one with the disc drive, because I want to hold on to physical media for as long as I can, because if you own it physically, you get the most amount of freedom. A lot of people say when you buy music on iTunes or stuff like that, you don't actually own that music. iTunes still owns it, you've just bought access to it. And same with Steam, same with the PlayStation Store. There is no second-hand market for that, for those platforms. So stick to physical as long as you can. Let's see, where am I up to? Vishal S would like to know what I do in my free time. I'll watch anime. I like to play games. I'm currently playing Shadow of War and Far Cry 5, as well as Stardew Valley on a PlayStation Vita. And I played Doki Doki Literature Club recently on PC, but other than that, I play Among Us with my friends, and Valorant, although I'm not a massive fan of Valorant. I don't play it unless my friends are. And I'm trying to get into hobbyist game development as well, but that's going so-so. Alex Funniact would recommend Konosuba as a first anime. I'm not sure if I agree with that. I think part of the appeal of Konosuba is that it's a subversion on isekai anime. I feel like in order to properly appreciate it, you'd probably have to see some isekai anime first. And I didn't watch an awful lot before I saw it. So like when, I think it was Mother's Basement pointed out that it started off with, the fact that it started off with Kazuma doing what he thought was saving someone from getting hit by a truck was a riff on isekai anime where so many people go to the other world by that method. But then it turns out it wasn't a truck, the girl wasn't going to die, and he didn't die getting hit by it. I didn't really get that. I thought it was just a random way to die at first, but it turns out it was a deliberate subversion on common tropes. So I feel like in order to truly appreciate something like Konosuba or ReZero, is to have a bit of experience in the isekai genre first. But once you have watched your first few anime, absolutely give Konosuba a watch, because it is very good. Alex Funny Act wants to know my PC specs. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I can tell you that I have 2 custom-built machines, one of which I am actually streaming from right now. It was deliberately built to be a video editing machine. So if you guys have watched my older videos, you might have noticed that there's a laptop in the background of some of them. That's what I edited on for most of my YouTube career. But ever since the Red Hot Go video for Pokemon, I've been editing on a desktop PC. And that laptop is now basically dead. And then a gaming PC which I built years and years ago and have replaced the parts in so many times that the only original part left is the case. But yeah, it'll play most modern games just fine. And actually, I've just recently, for Amazon Prime Day, ordered a VR headset, which I've never owned one of those before, so I'm very excited to give that a go. Rymation, physical is better than digital any day for me too. It really is. Like, I get that some indie developers can't really afford to do physical, and that's fine, but if I can buy physical, I will buy physical. Alex Funny Act wants to know my top 5 favourite openings. If it's on the spot, then they're not going to be in any particular order, but I gotta say Your Lie in April, because the song that plays is my current obsession. It's the song that I play over and over again. That's an absolute banger of a song. Love is War Season 1's OP is really creative. It loses a fair few points for that moment in the beginning where, like, one walks into the room and the other just goes. That's a bit weird, but other than that, it's stunning OP. What else? I know more than that. Death Parade has a pretty cool OP. That's another song that I actually own on iTunes. Haikyuu Season 1, Imagination is so good. The fact that it's good has become a bit of a meme, from what I've heard. Let's see, what else? New Game has a pretty decent OP. I like the song in Orange, in the OP for Orange. The most recent OP for My Hero Academia just cracks me up. I sent the previous OP to a friend. I'm like, look at how grim and intense this OP is. Like, you can just feel the desperation. And now look at this. They're using their superpowers to make a candied apple, and they're in a band, and it's all, yeah. Actually, I own that song on iTunes as well. I've been buying a lot of Japanese music on iTunes lately. Music that have shown up in OPs, and I've actually requested that iTunes add more songs. Like, they don't have the OP song for Suredure Children, which that's another good OP, by the way, and they don't have the ED for Haikyuu. I can't remember which ED it was, but it's the one where it's just still images of all the teams running forward, but I really love the song that they play with it. I feel like my voice is starting to go. Can you guys hear? Like, is my voice different now to what it was earlier? Let's see. David Frog said that Doki Doki made them doubt if they were going crazy first playthrough. Unfortunately, I already knew everything there was to know about Doki Doki before I played it for the first time. I just thought, well, now that I've... it was a video by a YouTube channel called Tech Rules, who I highly recommend you check out. They've done similar videos for Five Nights at Freddy's and Baldi's Basics in Learning, where they essentially decompile the code and explain how everything works, and it's really, really cool. And so they did one of those for Doki Doki. They explained how the scares worked, the little Easter eggs they put into the code. So I watched that and I thought, okay, I got to see this for myself now. I don't usually play horror games because I hate jump scares, but yeah, it's it's not jump scare scary. I think there are a few jump scares that I missed, but yeah, it's not really jump scare scary. It's more... I don't want to say human condition, because that's more like This War of Mine or Frostpunk is more human condition, but it's like... And without giving too much away, just... oh dear. Just the lengths that some of the characters go to in that game, and it kind of freaks you out, because you're like, this is ridiculous, but I can kind of see where they're coming. I've completely messed up my hair. I'm sorry. I've gotten a haircut since you last saw me, by the way. When I did the mistakes video, and I had to look at my own face for hours as I edited, I thought, oh, is that really how I look? And then when I put in that one clip of me doing the voice recording from the side, I'm like, oh god, that does not look as good as I thought it did. So I got it all chopped off. Alex Funniak says that Konosuba was one of their first anime. If you wouldn't mind, either here or in the Discord, if you wouldn't mind letting me know, how do you think that sort of set your expectations for anime? Because I've always been interested, because like I said, my first anime was sort of a middle of the road anime. I've always been interested on what other people's first anime was and how that impacted their standard for anime. A really popular gaming YouTuber named Super Butterbuns, I found out during like a podcasty type thing that her first anime was Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, widely considered one of the greatest anime ever made, and I wondered, how does that impact their standard for anime? Like, does that mean that they can't watch much other anime because a lot of it pales in comparison? Data52 says that School Days would be a bad first. Yes, it would. I haven't seen it, but I know it by reputation. Yes, it would be a terrible first anime. And I wouldn't watch Batum. I wouldn't watch Batum full stop, but I certainly wouldn't recommend it to someone as a first anime either. I think Batum was like my 5th or 6th anime. And it disgusted me so much that I stopped watching anime for about half a year. Oh, Rhymation says, here I thought I had School Days on my watch list. Just don't let us talk you out of it. Like, if it's something you want to watch, then watch it. Like, it's not... I don't want to give anything away because I don't know if you know why it has the reputation it does, but it's not... It doesn't have the reputation it has because it's, like, just really, really bad. It's not like say Eromanga Sensei, where it's just, this is a load of trash. It's more that it's such a bizarre subversion of regular tropes that it sticks out to people. I mean, it could be bad beyond that. I don't know. I haven't seen it. David Frog says, talking about isekai reminds me of Overlord. I haven't seen that. Such good world building. If you reckon I should do that for Red Hot Go, leave it in the Discord server. Pixcalibur is going to give School Days a pass just from what they've read on it. Alex Funny-Act would like to know if I will stream any of my VR experience. Oh, there's a thought. One of the first things I want to do is buy Beat Saber, because I played Beat Saber at like this VR... how to explain it? It's like a business that has just a bunch of VR headsets and you pay money to play on them for an hour. Like an arcade. A VR arcade. A VR-cade, if you will. And I got to play Beat Saber there, and just after a few songs I worked up such a sweat. So I'd like to play Beat Saber for exercise. But yeah, I think if... yeah, I reckon I might stream some of it. Ooh, maybe I should get that Takagi-san VR game that I've seen GIFs of. That might be interesting. Rymation knows how School Days ends, and they're curious as to how it got there. Yeah, that's the same reason I played Doki Doki Literature Club. It's it'd make for a really good case study. I think as especially you, Rymation, as someone who studies media like I do, like you did that video on Takagi-san, which the rest of you should absolutely check out, and I know you've also done some content on Steven Universe, but yeah, as someone who studies media, when an oddity presents itself, even if it's not good, I think people like us should absolutely watch just to see how it got there. I think that'd make a really interesting case study. Sorry, I know when I lean in to read, it looks like I'm getting a bit close to the camera there. I'm just trying to read this name. Legiblekasta. I'm really sorry, but I'm just gonna have to call you Leg for the sake of time. So Leg would like to know if I ever plan on reading or watching One Piece ever. I think One Piece is on my list of suggestions for Red Hot Go, but I think it only has one suggestion on it. So so if it gets more suggestions, then I will. Basically, at the point it is now, if a show gets 4 or more suggestions, it's basically guaranteed to get a Red Hot Go at some point. So yeah, so if it gets more suggestions, then yeah, absolutely. Data52 thought I'd gotten a haircut. Junior Navarro wants to know if I'll ever watch Rent a Girlfriend. Same thing that I said to Leg. If it gets enough requests for a Red Hot Go, then yeah, I'll give it a watch. But other than that, it doesn't sound like something I'd watch on my own accord. Okay, so Prot has pointed out that Konosuba was their first anime, and they watched it with a group of friends. Well, I actually think that changes everything. Watching it in a group would change the experience of watching it, I think. Yeah, I'd still be curious as to what other anime you watch and how you subconsciously compare it to Konosuba and how that impacts your enjoyment. Small Talk says The Endless Pit of Disappointment, FMAB, first anime. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, first anime. Yeah, that. If I ever get to a position where I can send a message to Super Butterbuns and be noticed by her, which you'll know I've made it if I can do that. But I'd want to know, do you watch anime often, and how has FMA being your first impacted it? Prot thought Konosuba was really funny, but doesn't want to acknowledge episode 9. It's been so long since I watched it. I know I did a deja vu on it just recently, but I didn't actually re-watch it to do that. Deja vu, I just talk about what I remember. I don't remember what happened in episode 9. But I'm sure you have your reasons. Ryan the Reptile, have you watched Clannad? Yes. It was garbage. It was so bad. I watched it all the way through because I was so desperate to find something that I'd love as much as Toradora, but it was bad. It was bad. Okay. Data52 has pointed out that the name I was struggling so hard to read is pronounced Legible Sketches, and I see it now. I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry, Legible Sketches. I'll use that from now on if you haven't left us already. And Rymation says thanks for what I said about the case study. Let me know how it goes. Like, if you do end up watching School Days, let me know if it's something I should look into. Small Talk's first anime was Saki K. Very confused and satisfied at the same time. Saki K, that sounds... I haven't seen it, but it sounds familiar. It's not that awful Jaden Smith. Oh god, it is! I was about to say, it's not that garbage Jaden Smith anime, is it? But yeah, no, it looks like... Is it though? If Saki K is the anime I'm thinking of, the one that Jaden Smith is in the dub of, then I've only heard bad things about it. But David Frog says the second anime they ever watched was Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z because they remember seeing it on TV and wanted to know what the hype was about. A weird second anime, but first was Attack on Titan, very different. Yeah, that's yeah, I'm surprised that I didn't get into anime younger in life. Like, I knew that Pokemon was this huge thing, but I just never watched it. I even had a little jigsaw puzzle of it. I had no idea what it was, but it was just a fun puzzle to do. But yeah, apparently when I was really, really little, me and my brothers watched Sailor Moon on ABC, and my mum would watch it with us. But I have no memory of that at all. Legible Sketches says One Piece is one of the series that will take you a while to actually start. The first 100 chapters and the first 52 episodes could be considered a prologue. Oh god. Oh god. Oh, so it's kind of like another Pokemon thing where it's like there are hundreds, if not thousands, of episodes of this. So it's probably something I'm going to drop after doing a red hot go because there's just so much that it hurts my head to think about. Also, Legible Sketches is still here. Great. I was able to apologise for calling you Leg. Excalibur wants to know how many episodes would would be needed in an anime to be eligible for Red Hot Go? Yeah, right, because so typically for Red Hot Go I watch the first 3 episodes. If someone requests a show that only has so many episodes out, I'd probably announce that I intended to cover it for Red Hot Go, but wait until the first 3 episodes were out. But I don't know how much longer that's going to be a problem, because at some point, I mean, this could be years away for all I know, but at some point I wouldn't mind starting to properly watch seasonal anime as it comes out and actually create a new series where I talk about that. So people wouldn't need to request new shows for Red Hot Go, because there'd already be an implicit promise that I'd already have it on a list somewhere, and Red Hot Go could just be for shows that I've missed. But yeah, so probably for the time being, if someone recommended an anime that didn't have 3 episodes yet, I'd probably say that I'll wait until it has 3 episodes. Or if for whatever reason it will never have 3 episodes, then I guess I'll just watch whatever there is to watch. Vishal S insists that Saki is such a good anime. Well, if you want to request it for Red Hot Go, you can do so on the Discord. And if it gets enough requests, maybe I can confirm or deny that statement. Tonikawa episode 3 releases tomorrow. Yeah, some of the people who suggested it did say that it was currently airing. The only thing is, if I do a Red Hot Go for it, I won't be able to finish it before the end of year roundup, if I intend to finish it, that is. So that's the only hurdle that I can see for doing such a new show, but it'll be fine. We'll work around it. Ryan the Reptile says that if I've watched Takagi-san, I might like Nagatoro. I have read Nagatoro, and there are some things I like about it. There are some things I don't. We were talking about how the author is a bit sketch. Small Talk says there are so many JoJo references in Saki K, and they didn't understand them at first until they actually watched JoJo. I haven't watched JoJo either. It is something that's been requested for Red Hot Go, and I told a friend that I might watch the first 3 episodes, and they insisted that the first 3 episodes wasn't enough. But I told them I wasn't going to change the formula for JoJo, or I'd have to do it for other shows, and if I had to watch more than 3 episodes of, say, Bunny Girl Senpai, I'd be very upset. But I said maybe I'd run the script by them, so that they can make sure I'm not making a complete fool of myself again. Small Talk says that Nagatoro is Takagi-san but for sadists. Yes, that is a very accurate way of putting it. Actually, do you remember when I analysed Camping Trip? I wanted to make a point about what it is we love about Takagi, and so I subverted that by rewriting a scene to make Takagi act more like Nagatoro. And I used a fan image someone had made of Takagi with half of Nagatoro's face, and I got a lot of comments on that video saying that the image was cursed. That was fun. Vishai S only knows the memes but hasn't watched JoJo. Yeah, me neither. I know the memes. I know the to be continued meme, which I only just recently discovered was a JoJo reference. I didn't know that's what it was from until recently. David Frog has only watched the first 3 seasons of JoJo, and sort of fell off around season 4. Yeah, that happens. That happens with shows that run on too long. That's why I hope that Takagi-san, I hope it gets a season 3, but I hope it doesn't go on forever. And that's why I give people odd looks when they say, I want a Toradora season 2. It's like, do you though? What? The story's over. What more could they possibly do without just playing it out? Ryan the Reptile says that Saki is great. Well, yeah, I mean, if you think it's something I might like, or if it's actually, no, you don't have to think I'll like it. If it's something you want me to watch and talk about, request it for Red Hot Go. Some talk about how season 4 of JoJo's is actually where it gets good, apparently. Quincy Chamberlain would like to know which anime are part of the Red Hot Go Roundup. Let me, because I started writing the script a little while ago, just so it wouldn't sneak up on me all at once. Oh god, that's right. So, do you guys remember in the Toradora finale at the very start when I said, 28,000 yada yada words later, and you saw me typing that out? Well, there was meant to be more there. So, what I'd done is I'd opened up every old script from the Toradora analysis series, and I'd put all of them into Photoshop, and I was going to do this thing where, like, all the scripts would be on screen at once. But then when I tried to put those images into Premiere Pro, it didn't work, and I thought, stuff it. So I just went to open the Red Hot Go 2020 Roundup script, so that I could see what was on it. And I thought, I only worked on it recently, but I had to go through about a dozen documents. So far, the videos that I will be covering in the Red Hot Go Roundup are High School Girl, Love is War, Pokemon, Bunny Girl Senpai, Haikyuu, My Youth Romantic Comedy As Wrong As I Expected, Railgun, The Promise to Neverland, Mob Psycho 100, Pet Girl of Sarakuso, Your Lie in April, Quintessential Quintuplets, and K-On! So those are all the shows I have so far in the Roundup. So basically every show I did a Red Hot Go on goes into the Roundup, and I talk about whether I continued to watch it, how much I watched, whether I liked it, and I give it a sort of final rating, I guess. More talk about JoJo and how it's a different type of anime. Yeah, I can tell just by what little I've seen of it. Legible Sketches. The Netflix dub for Takagi-san Season 2 is garbage. Yeah, it isn't all that great. It's... yeah. I don't think it's awful, but it's not great. It's probably beneath average. If I was using the Red Hot Go rating system to rate the Takagi-san Season 2 dub, I'd probably rate it chilly. Ryan the Reptile is worried that the thumbnail might spoil the finale of Toradora. Yeah, you're right, actually. It very well could. On one hand, all the videos do spoil Toradora, so I don't imagine anyone would go looking for these videos, unless they'd already seen it. But on the other hand, if they're into anime analysis and they start to show an interest in Toradora, it might show them that thumbnail without them looking for it, and that would really suck. So, yeah, I did have a few options for thumbnails, so I might play around. I might change it to some. Excuse me, that's my voice giving out. Yeah, I might change that to something else. That is a good point. I certainly don't want to spoil it for anyone. Small Talk makes a pretty decent point. Maybe what people want from Toradora Season 2 is like Takagi-san Moto. So like a series where Tiger and Ryuji are adults and raising their kid or kids. So, maybe. It depends how... there need to be some sort of character arc. So both Tiger and Ryuji go through character arcs over the course of Toradora. And so there would need to be more growth. You know, having kids would need to put them in a position where they needed to become better, yet again. If they did that, then maybe, but as it stands, I'm happy. I'm happy where Toradora ended. David Frog says you could even do that in a one shot. Yeah, that could be cool. That could be cool. Pixcalibur points out that the title Toradora itself can be a spoiler. Not a spoiler, maybe more foreshadowing. I mean, there is the whole monologue in the first episode of Toradora is capable of giving away the ending, but it doesn't explicitly say anything. It still counts as a spoiler. If it started like, say, Quintessential Quintuplets did, if it started with them on a date or getting married and explicitly saying this is how we got together, then yeah, we'd be fine. But yeah, it's very ambiguous at the start. Although Quintessential Quintuplets, you don't know who he's marrying, just that he's marrying one of the sisters. And where am I up to? Legible Sketcher says that Pokemon is pretty episodic, unlike One Piece, which is super plot heavy. Yeah, I did notice that Pokemon was rather episodic. Like the first episode, like there was some carryover between episodes, but yeah, I could absolutely see that you could put on any episode of Pokemon, and a kid would get, yeah, and you know, a kid would get enjoyment out of that. Just going to skip ahead real quick. Shark, you're off. Good night. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you in the next one. Sorry, I'll go back to Ryan the Reptile's message. Right. So Ryan the Reptile apparently had a friend who wanted something like Clannad After Story for Toradora. Yeah, maybe it's yeah. I feel a bit dirty comparing. I'd feel a bit dirty comparing Clannad to Toradora because Toradora is amazing and Clannad is really not. But yeah, I get what your friend is saying there. Yeah, again, I think that Toradora ended in a good place. You know, and I think an ambiguous ending suits it. Shimonita, Red Hot Go when? Small talk asks. Well, when it has enough suggestions to stick out amongst the crowd. I think the current Red Hot Go list. Hold on, let me just open it up. So the current Red Hot Go list has about 80 suggestions on it, and some of my patrons were a little worried when they saw that. They suggested that I close off suggestions for a little while because they didn't want me to overwork myself. But what I eventually figured out is that really what I had to do was just choose the ones that got the most suggestions to do videos on. So, so I'm pretty sure I've already confirmed on this video that Tony Koa, Over the Moon for You, is going to be the next Red Hot Go because it has the most suggestions. It has more suggestions than any show has ever had for Red Hot Go. So if you want a show to be covered on Red Hot Go, you just need to convince more people to. You need to convince people to suggest it, because the more suggestions it has, the more likely it is to be picked. Sometimes I might go against that. So for Promised Neverland, for instance, I chose to do that despite it not having as many suggestions as other shows. But that was because there were too many negative or ambiguous Red Hot Goes in a row, and it was starting to bum me out. So I specifically picked a show that I knew by reputation and thought I would like. And I did. Okay, where am I up to? Sujay is confused as to how Toradora can be a spoiler. So I can't remember who said it, but someone pointed out that Toradora, tiger, dragon, sort of thing. Although I'm sure that Pixcalibur could explain much better than I could how that name foreshadows the end. Oh, Ryan the Reptile already has. Tora means tiger, while Dora means dragon. There you go. The show is literally called Tiger Dragon. The Japanese name for Toradora is a spoiler if you know what it means. Not necessarily. So, in the second episode, within the first arc, when Ryuji says, "I will become a dragon so that I can stand by you, a tiger," what I get from that is that he's dedicated to helping her, and the title could very well be a reference to that dedication if you don't know how it ends. So if I knew that Toradora meant tiger dragon, I would assume it's because, oh, she's a tiger, he's a dragon, they're helping each other out. But it can be like I said before, it can be foreshadowing. Now that once you know the ending, you're like, oh, so that's what they meant by tiger dragon. It's the story of how a tiger and a dragon actually were united. Pixcalibur says that probably not a spoiler, just foreshadowing. It could be either. The difference between foreshadowing and a spoiler can be such a fine line. I have an example, but it does involve potentially spoiling something. So, if you haven't seen Fight Club, I'm going to mention something about the ending of that film. I'm going to put my hand up, and once I'm done spoiling it, I'll put my hand down. So if you haven't seen it, mute this video now. I'll only be a minute. So, when I was watching Fight Club, someone walked by, and they saw what I was watching, and they saw what part of the movie I was up to. I was getting close to the end, and all they said was, "So have you figured it out yet?" And as soon as they said that, I thought, figured out what? Oh. And then I figured out how it ended. Just that. Just asking, have you figured it out yet? So yeah. Anyways, spoilers over. You can come back now. But yeah, moral of the story, there is a very fine line between spoiler and foreshadowing. There can be a very fine line. Where am I up to? Oh, David Frog, it's 3:30 there, and you have something to do tomorrow, buddy. You should not be up that late. For this, I really appreciate that you've come to hang out. Thank you very much for coming by. Rymation wants to suggest Infinity Train, but they're aware that not many people that not many people care for Western cartoons. Do it anyway. You'll never know. I'm constantly encouraging people to go through the list of suggestions and to add their names to any suggestion that they too would like to make. So that's one reason you should always request a show if you want it to be covered. The other is, like I was saying before about The Promised Neverland, I could get to a point where I need to ignore suggestions just for one episode, just to pick something that I think I might like. And, that could be it. If I think their name is Benjamin Iwan, who requested Promised Neverland. If they had thought, well, no one else is going to suggest this, so I won't, it wouldn't have been covered, because I wouldn't have had it on my list. So yeah, you should absolutely request anything you want me to cover. Anime, video game, cartoon, movie. I've even allowed people to request manga, or comic books as well. Just whatever you want to be on that list, I will put on that list. I mean, unless it's like fascist propaganda or pornography. But I doubt many people here are going to be requesting Birth of a Nation. Daniel Kim would like to know if Takagi-san is still my favorite anime. Yeah. I haven't watched it in a while. I am going to watch it again relatively soon so that I can write that fan fiction. But it is still one of my favorites, but I'm not sure if it's the number one or the only number one. I think I have a few number ones right now. A few anime that I like very much, but for different reasons. So like Haikyuu is another one of my number one shows, but obviously it's very different to Takagi-san. Trying to compare them and work out which is the better show is like comparing apples and oranges. Like they're both fruit, but they're not the same thing. But yeah, Takagi-san is still one of my favorite shows. And even if I get to a point where the magic wears off, or I find something that does what it set out to do even better, Takagi-san will always hold a special place in my heart, because it is ultimately the anime that made me start producing content for YouTube. And I'm currently sitting on 1,400 subscribers. I've been sitting here for about 2 hours just chatting with people who only know who I am because of Takagi-san. So currently, yes, it is one of my favorites, and even if a time comes when that's no longer true, it will always hold a special place in my heart. I'm going to take another sip of water because I can feel my voice giving out. Small Talk says that Takagi-san was their favourite anime until they found salvation in Shimonetta and Love is War. Which, if you like Shinometa that much, then absolutely request it for Red Hot Go. And yeah, Love is War is really good. That's probably another one of my favourites. The manga is one of my number one favourites. If they continue to adapt it to anime, then the anime will become one of my number one favourites. Small Talk says it's very ecchi. Is that a Shimonetta is very ecchi? Because you should probably know I don't really tolerate ecchi if it's with underage characters, like high school aged kids. I've criticized Takagi-san for the times it slipped up. I quite overtly criticized Toradora for the way in which it depicted Ami from time to time. I'm not inherently against ecchi or sexual elements in a story. Just as long as either A, the characters are adults, consenting adults, that's important, or B, if there is narrative purpose to it beyond titillation. So I'm going to talk about Explanation Point again, because I'm an Explanation Point fanboy, but he did a video about Maiden Abyss, which does have some very uncomfortable visuals of its main character, who is an underage girl. But he makes the point that the nudity, well, the implied nudity in what's the right word? She's naked, but you don't see anything. But yeah, they made the point that the purpose of that was not to titillate the viewer, but it was almost like a part of the world building. Like it added context to her relationship with Reg and her life before she went into the abyss. So yeah, it's so yeah, generally if the ecchi element is there to titillate and it involves underage characters, then I tend to not. I tend to be very critical of that sort of thing. Where am I up to? Okay, Sujay, and I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Somewhat of an ambiguous question, but when you rewatch Takagi-san, what's your expected episodes per day rate? That is a great question. It's probably just going to depend on how I feel while I'm watching it. I might start watching it and think, I'd rather do something else. And in that case, I'll only do 1, 2, maybe 3 episodes a day. I might start watching it and, get through the whole 2 seasons in a day and a half. I really don't know. It really depends on how I feel watching it. And it'll be interesting because, if I tried to rewatch Toradora in the next couple of months, maybe even the next year, I probably wouldn't be able to enjoy it because I've just watched it again and again so carefully to analyze it. This will be my first time watching Takagi-san since I gave it that kind of scrutiny. So I'll be interested to see if I feel any different about it. Daniel Kim wants to know if I'll ever analyze the manga for Takagi-san. No, I'm afraid not. partly because my expertise lies in not particularly in anime, but just things in motion. Just like when I went to university, I studied film, so sort of cinematography is the language that I best understand, and narrative. Sorry, I'm not explaining this very well at all. That, and I have analysed the manga in the past, and all of those videos got blocked worldwide, and my attempts to get them unblocked failed, and there's nothing I can do about it excuse me. And there's nothing I can do about it anymore, so probably not. Prot points out that I have a big water bottle. Yes, I was saying at the start of the stream that I used to just have a dozen or so little plastic bottles, but I decided to scrap those and go for something bigger. Mr. Sputum? Am I saying that? Probably not. Has a very interesting question, actually. Do you think people actually appreciate fan service generally? I can't really imagine any sensible fan feeling sufficiently serviced by it to warrant disregarding your female characters in such a way. That is a really, really good question. And you got to imagine that at least the creators are getting some kind of kick out of it. Like when I think about overtly pandering shows, like I haven't seen it, but I know Eromanga Sensei by reputation, and you got to imagine that at least the creator is getting off on it, and probably hears from some people on the internet who get off on it. But when it comes to just little slip-ups, like some of the nastiness in Takagi-san or Toradora, I really couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you if anyone actually looks at Ami Kawashima taking the ribbon off her bikini top, looks at that and goes, "Oh yeah, that's what I'm here for." Because to me, it's just like, she's what, 16, 17 years old? You know, I got family that age. But yeah, it is interesting. I would be interested to pick the brains of someone who does look at scenes like that and does get something out of it, other than discomfort. Not necessarily to befriend them, but more so just to pick their brain, try to figure out why. And then you go on to make a very good point about it maybe just being an industry convention that people have stopped thinking about. Maybe you're right. Maybe the first generation of anime creators were just a bunch of perverts, and everyone else has just sort of been following suit. You know, why is there a scene where Ami is topless? I don't know, other anime do it. That is a very good point. But I would say that if that is the reason, that would only incentivize me to fight back against it worse, because if they're only doing it out of habit and enough people say, hey, we're kind of sick of this, then we're going to see it less. And yeah, and I am going to continue to call that stuff out. Like I haven't had anyone get angry about it, but I have had people say, I didn't realise, and I think I have had someone say they're cartoon characters, they don't actually have an age. And I will always... Yeah, that's not enough to shut me up on this. Like, I will always call out when a show is being creepy, whether it's a live-action show, anime, a cartoon. If you're exploiting kids, or characters who are coded to be kids, I'm going to call it out. And yeah, the more people do it, the less we're going to see. Smongtok says that Shimonetta is ecchi to the point where it's played for laughs, yet a bit stomach churning to the average viewer. Or actually, same person. if it were just critical and okay with what? Okay. So you're saying that it sort of goes over the top with the ecchi element. I could maybe see that working. It kind of depends. It depends on whether the show has its cake and eats it too or not. And what I mean by that is, does it play its ecchi straight, but sort of say, "Oh, how terrible is it that we're doing this?" Or does it? I mean, I'm assuming that's what it is. It's kind of like it reminds me of something that a video game reviewer, Yati Croshaw, once said about a game that I can't remember which game it was, but it was apparently sort of this meta game that made jokes about gaming conventions, and he said that there was a super long sewer level, and one of the characters said, "Oh, sewer levels, these are the worst." But then it still had the sewer level, and it was still overly long. And his suggestion was, 2 minutes into the sewer level, someone should have just said, "Screw this, we're going to joust on ostriches," or something like that. I can't remember the exact thing he said, but the point is, just pointing out that something is bad doesn't excuse you for using it, unless you're actually subverting it. So I think one of people are going to kill me for not knowing the name of this, but one of those really popular mecha anime, Evangelion or something along those lines, I watched the first episode of that, and there's a scene where the main character, does the accidental boob grab. He trips over, he lands on one of the main characters, and and his head lands on her breasts. And the subversion there is that she doesn't care. She doesn't really notice that anything is wrong, and in fact, when more danger presents itself, she holds him closer. And that's the sort of subversion I can get. That's the sort of subversion I can get behind, because I think part of what people like about those accidental boob grabs is that it creates an awkward situation afterwards. But actually, maybe that isn't a good example now that I think about it. I've been talking so long, I'm starting to ramble. Sujay says, "Your pronunciation is impeccable." Oh, fantastic. Oh, good. I'm glad. Anti-Termin. Again, I hope that's how you pronounce your name. I know you said before that you don't like a silent voice. Is that because it wasn't your cup of tea? Do you care to elaborate on that, if you remember the movie at all? Yeah, look, when it comes to my apathy for a silent voice, it really is that it just wasn't my cup of tea. So I bought the DVD before I'd ever seen it. I think it was on sale somewhere, and I bought it because I'd heard that it was this really, really good film, that it made people cry, it made them feel, and then when I watched it, it just didn't elicit that kind of response from me. So I don't think it's bad per se. I might have enjoyed it more if it hadn't been talked up to me before, but yeah, especially towards the end, I started to notice a lot of little issues, things like characters who just appear, like in the last 10 minutes of the film, and then in the last 2 minutes, they're part of the group shot, like they've been there all along. Like it was clearly adapted from a manga, the type of manga that you would usually adapt into a TV show, because the pacing of the film did feel a lot like a TV show sometimes. And okay, I am going to say something that is going to spoil a silent voice. I'm going to put my hand up while I say it. So if you haven't seen a silent voice, just mute this now, and when I put my hand down, you're safe to come back. So one of the more baffling moments from that film, I think, is when the main character catches the female lead trying to jump off her balcony. I didn't see that coming, but not in a, ooh, what a great twist kind of way, but more in a, where has this even come from kind of way. And yeah, it was just stuff like that when I look back on A Silent Voice, I think it's kind of a bit confusing. It's kind of a bit all over the place. Alright, spoiler talk over. We're done with spoilers. Let's move on. When you did the manga, Legible Sketches asks, when you did the manga reviews, did you leave the words from the speech bubbles in? I heard from some manga channels that they remove the text and just leave the images to get past strikes. I didn't remove the words when I did it, which I have since heard that manga reviewers do that. But something tells me it wouldn't have helped. See, the videos that I uploaded, they didn't get struck until long after they'd been uploaded. So it was done manually. And I feel like taking the words out wouldn't have changed that. So yeah, if I ever do need to reference manga again, like use a picture from the manga just to make a reference to it, I'll probably take the words out. But then again, like especially in the Takagi-san series, especially in season 1, I used a lot of manga panels. But it was only the videos that were specifically about the manga that got taken down. So if I used it in a video about the anime, where I said, this is what happens in the anime, this is what happens in the manga, that was fine. It was just when I was solely focused on the manga that there was a problem. And look, at the time, I was pretty cross. I said, oh, it's fair use, you can't do this. But, you know, I've learnt a lot about what fair use actually is since then. And I feel like maybe they were right to do it. Maybe I was wrong to use so many images. What really made the light bulb flick in my head about fair use was an analogy. No, not an analogy. It was something that I think Lindsay Ellis said it, but I can't remember who. They essentially said, they used Weird Al Yankovic as an example. And before I heard this, I would have assumed that all of Weird Al Yankovic's content was fair use, because he did parodies of songs, right? But they said that, as examples, look at his song Eat It, a parody of Michael Jackson's Beat It, or Smells Like Nirvana, a parody of Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit. They said that Smells Like Nirvana would be fair use. I mean, Weird Al gets permission and pays to parody all the songs he does, but let's say he didn't. Smells Like Nirvana would be fair use, because it is, not only is it a parody, but it is a parody explicitly critiquing the original work. Whereas Eat It would not be fair use. It is a parody, but it isn't actually a parody of Beat It. It's just Beat It with funny lyrics. So yeah, frankly, I'm not even sure if the way I use images could be considered fair use. I know that the company who owns the rights to Toradora doesn't care, because when I used animation, they took it down right away. But now that when I started using images, I didn't have any issues. But yeah, fair use is a lot more complicated than I thought it once was. And I do wish rules could be a little looser. I do wish that YouTubers didn't have to worry so much about having their content torn off the internet. If the intent is if the execution is more critique. But yeah, I've completely forgotten where that even came from, to be honest. Um, Small Talk says that they believe A Silent Voice wasn't as sad or moving as people say it is, but maybe they're just heartless. You and me both, buddy. It's yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think. I mean, you can't deny that bad things happen to those characters, but that isn't enough. It isn't enough to have. Like, let's say I made a movie for you guys, right? So as soon as the movie starts, you see a guy getting punched in the stomach, and then I say, "Don't you feel bad for that guy?" You'd probably say, "Not really." Now imagine instead that this film starts off with that guy waking up in the morning. He kisses his wife. He tells his kids to do good in school. He goes and works at a soup kitchen. And then while he's taking out the trash for that soup kitchen, someone comes and starts punching him in the stomach. You'd feel a lot worse for him because you know him. You know the context. You know why he's there. You know what he could lose if this confrontation goes any worse than it is. So, and I think that's almost kind of the issue that A Silent Voice has, is that sad things are happening, but we don't necessarily know enough about the characters to get invested. It kind of just shows that this girl is being bullied, which is sad, but it'd be sadder if I knew more about it. If that makes sense. Very similar to the issue I had with Your Lie in April at the beginning. It just sort of dove face first into misery before I even really knew anything about the main character. So no, I don't think you're heartless. Daniel Kim wants to know if I've watched I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. Not yet, but it is on the list for Red Hot Go. In fact, I even referenced that it was on the list for Red Hot Go in Deja Vu as a bit of a joke. So it is on the list. If you would like for your name to go on that suggestion and improve the chances that it will be chosen next, head over to the Discord, go into Red Hot Go and just say, "Please put me next to I Want to Eat Your Pancreas." Small Talk says that Shimonetta literally translates to dirty joke. Right, it might be interesting. It's requesting an ecchi show is a little risky if you're hoping that I'm going to talk well about it, but if it's tongue-in-cheek about it, then yeah, I think there could be something there. Antita Man says, I also remembered that at one point you made the claim that you think Clannad, an anime I rated 9 out of 10, is fundamentally flawed. Do you still plan to make a video on this one day? Yes, I do. I would love to at some point next year do one of those obnoxiously long video essays. But in order to do that, I have to watch Clannad again, which I have mixed feelings about. But I am glad that you liked it, though. I'm never going to be upset that someone liked an anime I didn't like. I think that's one of the most ridiculous things that someone can do, is to get mad at someone for liking something that they didn't. But yeah, I did not care for Clannad very much at all. Chaku the Half Sayane. Chaku says, yes, I didn't miss the stream. No, you didn't. We've been at it for 2.5 hours. My voice is starting to go. but I can't bring myself to end it because this is way too much fun. Daniel wants to know if we have any good anime, romance anime suggestions. I did say before, Takagi-san, if you haven't seen it, Kaguya-sama Love is War, Toradora Children. If you want something with the fantasy vibe, Snow White with the red hair is pretty nice. Ore Monogatari I remember having fun with, even though I barely remember anything about it now. His and Her Circumstances is a pretty nice anime from a really long time ago, although the end of the series does get pretty tedious, but only because there was a huge economic crash around the time this show was ending, so they had to do like a summary episode every few episodes, and it didn't end the best, but what's good in there is really, really good. Mr. Sprutum says that their rating is only appropriate for Clannad after story from episode 9 on. Anything up to that point, I can only really appreciate as a setup. Yeah, I've heard that sentiment a few times, that Clannad is so it's after story that really brings it together. But yeah, I don't know if I'm willing to accept that as reason enough to say that the show as a whole is good. Because if you've got to watch a whole season and a half of a show before it gets good, then, I mean, things absolutely get better as they go along, for the most part. You know, even shows I've discussed here, Takagi-san gets better as it goes on, Toradora gets better as it goes on. But it needs to start at a point that can be considered good, or it's just not really worth watching. But yeah, I am eventually going to rewatch Clannad in order to do my video on it, and maybe I'll watch After Story while I'm at it. But if it shares the same DNA as the first show, I mean, I haven't seen it. I don't know. I know how it ends. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Oh yes, another anime recommendation. Tsuki ga Kieri. Thank you, Rymation, for reminding me. That is usually one of my go-to recommendations. I don't know why I didn't say it that time. As the Moon So Beautiful. It's a very, very nice show. Yeah, if you're into Takagi-san or Toradora, Tsuki ga Kieri is a really good show. I really should cover it on this channel at some point. As for the Daniel's asked for a summary, I guess I'd describe it as like a... It's been so long since I watched it, actually. Like, I remember really, really loving it, but... I mean, it's a love story between someone who's really clever and someone who's not as much. But I'm going to leave the summary to people who... But yeah, I'm gonna let someone else who has a better memory than myself summarize that. Just have a quick sip. Oh dear. Right. So Pixcalibur wants to know, given that there are many Japanese, that many of you guys watch Japanese versions of the show with subtitles, are there any English dubs that you've watched that were decent enough? I watched a lot of dubs in the early days. I didn't think Sword Art Online's dub was all that bad. Beyond the Boundary has a half decent dub, I think. I mean, I've never watched the Japanese versions of those shows, so they could be garbage compared to the OG for all I know. But Toradora's dub is fine. Just about any Ghibli film has a fine dub. Ponyo's dub has Liam Neeson in it. But yeah, I don't watch a lot of dubbed anime these days. Shark is back. Daughter doesn't want to go to sleep. I'm sorry to hear that. Rhymation, that is a very, very good as a very good summary of As the Moon So Beautiful. That's yeah. Vishal loves the long form video essays. Gives you something to watch while doing mundane stuff. That's why I love long video essays as well. You know, when I'm playing a game that doesn't require all of my attention, you know, I'll put on like The Right Opinion or H Bomber Guy or oh my god, I recently just about a month ago finished a video essay, a commentary video by The Right Opinion on what was his name? Some guy who sort of ate stuff on camera for entertainment. It was 4 hours long, and it was amazing. And just recently, Digibro has combined all of his Asterix War Sucks videos into one 4-hour epic, which I did quite enjoy the Asterix War Sucks series that he did back in the day. So maybe I'll put that on at some point. Yes, as Shark has pointed out, Cowboy Bebop is on the Red Hot Go list. Evan Dunn ended up liking Pet Girl of Sarakuso more than Toradora. They felt like the MC resonated more with them for some reason. They still like Toradora, but really didn't feel the characters out well at first. Okay. I'll start with that first point. There are some aspects of Pet Girl of Sarakuso that... Yeah, there are some aspects of that show that absolutely trump Toradora. But I can absolutely see why someone would prefer it. Again, I'm giving away something I'm going to go into during the Red Hot Go Roundup, but Pet Girl of Sarakuso is a show that I finished. And there's one thing in particular that I really, really like, and I think that one thing is better than any one thing that Toradora did. But there's also just a lot of junk in it that sort of drags it down for me. But yeah, I can absolutely see why people love Pet Girl of Sarakuso so much, and I can even see why someone might enjoy it over Toradora. I actually got a few comments, and I did promise to address them at some point, but I never did. I got a few comments from people saying that they didn't like Toradora because of Tiger, because she was far too nasty to Ryuji, and no one ever really did anything about it. And I did promise to address that, but I never really did. And even now, I'm not really sure what to say about it. I get why that bothers people. It probably should bother me more than it does. Maybe because I know how it ends, I'm able to put up with it. I have always thought I don't like her as much at the start of the show. I like Tiger better as the show goes on. But, yeah, there's one person in particular right at the start, like I think in the comment section of episode 1 or 2, who said that they hated Toradora, they thought Tiger was a horrible person, and so was everyone who enabled her to treat Ryuji the way she did. And I promised to them that I would address that when it felt right to do so. I just never did. So if you're watching, I'm really sorry. I don't remember who you are, but if you're watching, I'm very sorry that I never got around to that, and I'm even more sorry that I still can't answer that now. Goodbye, Mono. Thank you very much for coming and hanging out with us. Okay, so Even Dunn liked Tiger, Minori annoyed them, and they were ambivalent towards Army. They didn't care about Kitamura at any point. Let's be real, very few people do. Even as someone who's, gone about as deep into Toradora as some people ever get. Not even I really care about Kitamura. They don't really make him someone who you care about. But that's interesting. I can see why some people would consider Minori to be annoying. The part that annoyed me about the show so much the first few times I watched it was that I just didn't understand why she was so out of it during the Christmas arc. I've watched the show about a dozen times. It wasn't until I watched it to analyze it that I finally figured out what her deal was. So, yeah, that makes sense. And being ambivalent about Army, yeah, fair enough. I mean, her character growth after her introduction arc kind of falls by the wayside until they're up on the mountain. There are little tastes of character development, but yeah, after her introduction arc, she basically remains the same person until they're up on the mountains. So Tata52 points out that once you get used to tsunderes, you don't really care how Tiger acts at first. Yeah, that's true. I think I'm able to put up with it now because I've watched it so many times that whenever her attitude gets grating, part of my brain just says, it's fine, it's going to get better. But yeah, I can absolutely see why some people might look at that and be disgusted. Obviously there are some people who just, as a personal taste thing, might just not like it. They might look at the way Tiger treats Ryuji at the same way that I look at the exploitation of young characters. They might just be distasteful and they want nothing to do with it. I can also, and I don't want to go too much into this because I don't really know what I'm talking about, but I can also imagine that, perhaps victims of bullying might be very uncomfortable watching that, and I can't stand here and say, oh, it's fine, it gets better, because it's like, well, that shouldn't matter. That shouldn't matter to people like that. When people tell me that Toradora makes them uncomfortable, that they don't like Tiger, they think she's nasty, I can't really argue, because they're right. She is a very nasty person when the show starts out. It's something that I can get through, but I don't begrudge anyone who can't get through that. Let's see. Jan Albert wants the next analysis to be Karakai Jozu no Moto Takagi-san. Yeah, I'm sorry, mate. I'm not really. I don't really analyze manga, and even if I did, the Moto series, I love the Moto series. I want to make that very clear. I adore the Moto series, but I'm not sure if it'd be good material for analysis, because the original Takagi-san is good because there's a clear sense of progression. Nishikata changes as the story goes on. The same can't really be said for the Moto series. Nishikata is basically Nishikata has basically gone through all the growth he will ever go through. All the manga, all the Moto series can really do is contrast his grown-up self to what his child self was like. Chi, I mean, the whole point is that they're raising their daughter Chi, but even then, you don't really get a sense that she's changing as the story goes on. So I don't think it'd make for good analysis. Mr. Sputum, again, I really hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. They don't see Clannad as a whole as good. Too much of it is bland harem with barely any developed characters. The only interesting bit in season 1, the girl and the robot segments. Robot segments? It's apparently been way too long since I watched it. Yeah, no, what I remember most from season 1 was when they were flashing back to when he was a kid, and he wound up at this girl's house, and at one point she sets her house on fire, and he's just standing there. And the whole point is that he completely forgot that he ever knew this girl, even though he goes to her house as a teenager. And I just remember thinking, as if you would forget being in a house fire. As if you would forget all this. This is so contrived and nonsensical. But again, at the time I was so desperate to love something as much as I loved Toradora that I just stuck it out. Antitermin was debating with one of their friends about whether or not anime actually needs to have a plot, considering shows like Lucky Star have absolutely no plot and have succeeded. What is my opinion? That is a good question, and it can extend to more than just anime. This could be about, movies, TV shows, books. Does anime need a plot? I think if you want to have a story without a plot, you need to replace that plot with something else. If you just remove the plot and don't do anything else, you're going to have a bad story. But I think you can take the plot out if you compensate for it by having better characters, or... Yeah, I mean, I guess you could almost argue that Takagi-san is a show without a plot, or at least a show with a very, not a weak plot, but like a very muted plot. You're not there for the plot, you're there for the characters. But, yeah, and that works. So I don't think an anime needs to have a plot, but I think if you're gonna not have a plot, you need something to replace it. You need something else. Mr. Sputum talking about how Clannad After Story completely changes the game, tone-wise, in terms of maturity and gravity. Like I said, when I watch Clannad again to make my video on it, I might check out After Story. I do gotta say, and this is no fault of yours, I want to make this clear, but I always get a little bit skeptical when the word maturity comes up. So yeah, sometimes when I'm doing a red hot go and I complain that something is boring, I'll get a response that says it's not boring, it's just mature. And I'll say, no, it's not mature. Mature means that it's something for adults. Mature doesn't... Some people think that mature is when a character is completely expressionless and puts no emotion into their voice. They are not fazed by the slightest thing. That's not maturity. Like I'm not exactly the best at being an adult, but I am in my mid-20s. I do know a lot of adults, and a lot of adults I know still have their emotions. Maturity isn't about suppressing your emotions. It's more about applying those emotions to the right places. So, a mature person doesn't shrug off everything that happens around them. They just shrug off the stuff that's inconsequential. But yeah, I'll check out Clannad After Story when it comes. When I have to watch Clannad to do my video on it. See how that goes. Actually, before I go on to the next question, let me just quickly double check something. The question I answered before about whether an anime needs to have plot, it actually reminded me of a question that my wonderful patron Tyler Bennett asked before the stream started, because they couldn't be here for the stream. They wanted to know why Takagi-san was the first anime I ever analysed, which, the reason being that it gave me a very strong emotional reaction, and I wanted to investigate why. But they also added, and this is why it reminded me of your plot question. Why did I choose it instead of a show that is more complex or thematically rich? And they did say, no offense to Takagi-san, which, none taken. As someone who studied, as someone who has studied Takagi-san, and I hope that you watching, as people who watch Takagi-san, I'm sure we can all agree that it is not a thematically rich show. That's not an offensive thing to say. It's, even compared to shows like Toradora, it's thematically quite barren. And themes can be fun to explore. I've loved going through Toradora and looking at the themes that it explores through each and every arc. But yeah, my motivation for analysing Takagi-san and Toradora was not so much the themes it explored, but the emotions that they, I want to say elicited, but I'm not sure if that's the right word. The emotions that they were able to get out of their audiences. So that's why I started my analysis career, I guess you could call this, with Takagi-san, because it had such a profound effect on me, and I wanted to know how did it pull that off. And to this day, I'm not even all that sure if I've adequately answered that question yet. Alright, moving on. Sujay says that the first time they tried watching Toradora, they were put off by Tiger's violence. Maybe it's just their selection of anime, but even tsunderes were not as violent. Yeah, I couldn't really list a lot of tsunderes, and some people even debate over whether Tiger is a tsundere, because is a tsundere not someone who acts aggressive to mask their affection? Or have I got that wrong? Because if that is the definition of a tsundere, then no, Tiger's not a tsundere. Her aggression masks her insecurity. If she was a genuine tsundere, then she'd be really aggressive towards Kitamura for the first part of the show. But she's not. She just gets flustered and mentally shuts down. But yeah, she does get awfully violent. She absolutely gets awfully violent, and I do think that that's part of what turns so many people off. Why so many people don't like her towards the start of the show. Or even towards the end. I mean, as I said in the analysis, nothing in regards to her violence really changes. The last thing we see is her headbutting him. Daniel Kim says they probably would have dropped. I'm assuming you're talking about Toradora here. I probably would have dropped the anime if it wasn't spoiled that they get together. I'm assuming you're talking about Toradora there. Okay, that's surprising. I am curious at what point you wanted to drop the anime, or if it was just generally you wanted to drop it the whole time until they got together. Because yeah, there are certain points in the show where I wouldn't blame anyone for wanting to drop it. You know, I've skipped the Kitamura arc a few times. I've heard that some people really didn't like the beach house arc. So I'd be interested to find out at what point you wanted to drop it. Evan Dunn says that the tsundere archetype is something that you need to get you kind of need to get used to. And yeah, I can see that. I can see tsundere being something of an acquired taste. But once again, if someone is really offended or upset by watching someone be so nasty, I'm not exactly gonna tell them, oh, you just need to give it a chance. Just keep making yourself uncomfortable for the sake of liking this thing. Daniel Kim asks if anyone else enjoyed Oregeiru. I'm just on fire with pronunciations today. I've just looked it up. My youth romantic comedy was wrong as I expected. Yeah, it was kind of middling. I've done a red hot go on it, and I'll discuss what I thought about more of it during the roundup. And Daniel Kim wonders if I dropped it. Okay, so they wonder if I dropped it, and yes, I did ultimately drop My Youth Romantic Comedy Was Wrong As I Expected. Damn, that name is long. But not for any particular reason. There wasn't any particular point that made me say, nope, I'm done. But I'll explain what I meant there when it comes to the actual roundup. Ninja Gamer, just here to say hi. Hello, Ninja Gamer. Thanks for coming by. Shark points out that tsundere are actually more aggressive to hide their weak spots. Not necessarily their romantic affection. Okay, if that's the case, then yes, Tiger is a tsundere, because her ultimate weakness is her insecurity, and she's most violent when she's trying to avoid those insecurities, I guess. Like, the first time we ever see her get violent with Ryuji is when he says that, oh, Palm Top Tiger, I get it. And we know from later that she hates that nickname. Or she breaks into his house because she thinks he has a love letter. None of that is to justify the violence, of course. No, I'm just stating what the motivation is. But yeah, if what Shark has defined a tsundere as is true, then yeah, Tiger would be a tsundere. Evan Dunn. Evan Dunn says that Kaguya-sama is amazing. They were really turned off by the first episode, like I was, and they're glad they didn't quit after one episode. Yeah, what really turned me off of Love Is War early on was the very beginning, where they explain the mindset behind, if you confess first, you're the loser. That was fine. It's when they were introducing Shirogane and Shinomiya that I kind of thought, oh, here we go. Because it was very front-loaded with exposition. There was just a lot of narration explaining who these people were, and it did that thing that I don't really like in anime, where there's a crowd to make comment on the main characters. Peko of Sarakuso did the exact same thing. Like, every resident of the house was out the front, and a bunch of random passerbys were around as well, talking about what they thought about the characters. And so that did turn me off, although on second watch, I did watch episode 1 of it again just recently. It does get better on the second watch. But yeah, I was turned off then, but I was turned right back on. Oh god, no, that's a terrible way to put it. Sorry, no. I wasn't impressed with the first... I am not turned on by these characters, okay? I was impressed by... I was not impressed by the exposition, but I was impressed when they had their sort of battle of wits over the movie tickets. That's the moment where I said, okay, now I get why people like this so much. And yeah, and seeing that dynamic sort of continue, and seeing them drop little hints that there was more to these characters than what we were seeing, that's what kept me around. A good example of a tsundere would be Asuka from NGE. Never heard of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Okay, I've heard of that, but I haven't seen it. Evan Dunn thought it was going to be all about this in their minds and the mind games, that they do, rather than the situational part of it. Yeah, so the sort of in-mind games sort of become more spread out as the show goes on, and it does become more about the relationships between those two and the rest of the student council. It is another show that gets better as it goes on, as most shows do. But the first episode for me had enough to get me excited, to get me to think, hey, this might be onto something. Sujay says, your imitation of Shirogane's shadow boxing and the narrator was awesome. It caught me by surprise. Okay. Thank you for the compliment on the narrator thing. That was, as someone with a deep voice already, I actually, even to this day, when I'm alone, I'll sometimes just go, Uso dearu, just to crack myself up. But, the shadow boxing thing. I had to tell my brother, I'm going into the bathroom, you're going to hear yelling, it's fine, I'm fine. And I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed to film myself doing it. And you probably notice in the Q&A itself, I don't do it for long enough. Like, you can see that I've sort of wrapped up and finished, but the narration is still going. And one part of me thought, oh, well, I gotta do it again and do it for longer. The other part said, nope, that's all you're getting. I'm not doing that again. I'd like to say I'll keep doing stuff like that. I'll start off big milestones with a meme, but the shadowboxing bit itself took a lot out of me. Yes, Shark, please do put that in as a suggestion in Red Hot Go. Kaguya would have just said, Okowai koto. Oh no. Oh no. Even thinking that one of you guys might say that has me fully understand why Shirogane is so terrified of those words. Right, well, we've been at this for 3 hours and 10 minutes. I reckon I'll do a few more questions, and then I think we'd better wrap this up. What does Shirogane say when he wins? emotions. Do you mean in the shadowboxing scene? What does he say while he's shadowboxing? I think he just says "booyah." Yeah, I think he just said. Oh, do you mean what does Kaguya? What does Shinomiya imagine when she imagines Shirogane getting the upper hand? I think it depends. I think it depends on the situation. So like when Shirogane is having a bad fantasy about Kaguya getting the upper hand, she usually says "okawaii koto" or "how cute," but sometimes she'll say something like "that's creepy" or "how pathetic." But when because there are definitely a few moments where she imagines him in that situation, and I can't remember because I don't think there's a consistent one. I think it's different every time. Oh no, you were talking about the shadowboxing. Yeah, pretty sure during the shadowboxing thing, he just says "booyah," and extends "booyah." Yeah. Is there anything else that anything that anyone else would like to add before we wrap this up? On the off chance that you're watching this on a delay, I'll be sure to answer any questions in the comments that I don't see here. We got one from Tyler Bennett. Hey, welcome. I just answered your question before. You requested Anohana for Red Hot Go. Notice that it's... And there go my... Oh dear. Oh, I was expecting a delivery today. I'm very sorry. Would you please give me just a minute? I'll be right back. Sorry. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. I was hoping that delivery would come after I was done with the live stream, and I was hoping that no one would ever have to know that I was wearing tracksuit pants or sweatpants if you're American. But since the delivery of this package has interrupted the stream, and I'm pretty sure I know what's in it, might just show you what it is. I didn't flash my address to you guys, did I? Oh dear. I'll have to edit. If I have, I'll have to blur it out when I edit the live stream. So... Yep, here it is. Oculus Rift S. I've been meaning to buy a VR headset for a very, very long time, and I've finally done it. Okay, where was I up to? Yes, Tyler Bennett. Do I remember my thoughts on Anohana when I first watched it? I remember it being quite in the middle about it. Not great, but not bad. Thanks for the stream. You're very welcome, Legible Sketches. He isn't kind. Shark wants to know how tall I am. I'm 6'6", about 198 centimeters. Yeah, thank you. I'm very excited to have a VR headset. I only bought it a couple of days ago. I thought it'd still be about a week away. But yeah, it's here now, so I guess I know what I'm doing with my Friday night, and maybe I'll even start streaming again. Yeah. Alright, is there anything else? BP5M wants me to give Bunny Girl Senpai another go. I'm really sorry, BP, but I've never been so bored watching something as I was watching Bunny Girl Senpai. It's if the first 3 episodes can't convince me that something is good, I think that's more than enough. Like, some of my favourite shows of all time, I knew from the first scene that they were going to be something special. And I think the only thing I remember enjoying about Bunny Girl Senpai was that joke about, do you know what time it is? Well, yes, this time. And that's it. Everything else was just very, very dull. I'm really sorry, but I don't imagine I'll be giving Bunny Girl Senpai another shot anytime soon. Shark is 145 centimeters tall. Takagi wants to know if I know about Takagi-san Season 3. There is no Season 3 confirmed yet. There are a lot of rumours and speculation, but none of those are concrete. As far as we know, there is no Season 3. Daniel would like to know if I've ever watched Tokyo Ghoul. No, I have not. No, I have not watched Tokyo Ghoul. Perhaps we could put that on the list for Red Hot Go. Yeah, and I'm all caught up. Is there anything else people want to ask before we wrap this up? This might just be the longest post-finale stream I've ever done. Like 3 hours and 18 minutes at this point. Thank you very much, Sujay. Thank you very much for watching it. And for coming in, hanging out on the stream. You've been here quite a while, if I recall. So yeah, that's going to do it, guys. Yeah, thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you next